Thank you to Williams-Sonoma for hosting us here tonight, and thank you to be in the presence of this esteemed group of people. I'd love to hear from you what you feel, your experience in building a brand and what it takes to build a brand or what one needs.
It's an interesting position for designers today because we see a lot of designers putting their name on products. And I constantly get this comment, which is there room for all these designers? And my standard answer is that when you go into a department store and you look at all the fashion designers that are littered all over the walls, nobody thinks twice about it because we're used to it. And I don't think we're as used to seeing designers attaching themselves to home product. But I do think that there's a need for it. I think we live in a world where people love celebrity and they love to attach themselves to people. And so in that sense, I think it works. And it's good for the manufacturers because the co-branding process really brings another dimension to that. And when everything sort of hit the skids in 2008, the smarter companies started really looking at what their differentiators were. And if they didn't have something to set themselves apart, then they really, they weren't going to be positioned when things came back. And so I think you're going to see a lot more of it happen.
Fashion designers put something out that's new each year to a broad audience. So their brand means something. It has to mean something to a whole bunch of people at once, whereas interior designers, we're essentially service people who service an individual, and maybe 10 individuals here. And it's scary, complicated, but somehow, maybe it becomes a necessity if you want to push your business to a larger reach. This brand aspect and the brand building becomes the second arm to a design firm. I think a lot of the people in this room are design professionals, and I think we're all thinking, gosh, make more money.
Yeah.
And looking to find a market
Yeah.
for what we can produce is the other fire
Yeah.
under our seats.
I feel like when designers come to me all the time and they want to, quote, take it to the next level, which I haven't really heard that, and I think that one piece of advice that I always give is, have a point of view and stick to it, because and really sort of follow that point of view no matter what you do, whether it's in your design projects, in the collaborations, whether you're being quoted by an editor for a magazine. You always go back to what that very narrow focus is.
There are thousands and thousands of interior designers out there. How do you stand out? What is your point of view? What's your perspective? And so I think it's equally important to build a brand just for your business in order to stand out. One of my favorite quotes is from Loretta Lynn, which is, in order to have any sort of level of success, you either have to be first, best, or different. And none of us are going to be the first interior designer. There's always going to be something better. We can all be different. And so I think you have to figure out what it is you stand for, and then really, like Elizabeth said, be consistent through your letterhead, through your website, through your blog.
Every
and
conversation.
I think consistency is one of the key elements to branding. And then also I think, like you said, authenticity is so important.
Consistency is a real tall task to put yourself towards, unless you just decide, okay, what do I honestly like? And then the consistency of your personal preferences and your own voice, if you can really dare yourself to be true to it. I think that might be the best sort of guardrail on each side to taking you in that direction.
Do you find that consistency is harder because you have clients who have their own, opinions and tastes?
I look at my clients sort of as my teachers,
Right.
presenting me with these incredible term papers or projects that are built to help me refine
Right.
a perspective, do my research, learn more, and then it's my job to figure out what the takeaway is and own the takeaway. And then that's what I hope I can share in the part that I think is personally delightful, which is the product design, or my engagement in other aspects of the industry. That's when it's about me and it's not about service.
Right.
So it's a fun balance.
Designers come to me all the time who say, I can do anything, or I can work within the spectrum, or I speak many languages, which is fabulous when you're designing their homes and being able to address your clients. But when it comes to your product and your brand, if it doesn't have a point of view, it doesn't sell as well.
So can we talk a little bit about editorial and PR? How important has that been for you?
I think the editorial has been enormously important, and I'm so grateful. It's also a challenge now because it is something that gains momentum, and the more they know that you're willing to talk, the more they'll ask, and it's become a considerable part of my every day.
It's a full-time job.
Somebody said, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Well, I'm really an interior designer, but sometimes I think I'm just a content provider."
Yeah.
I look for people that have credibility, but I need to show projects that haven't been seen before. So if a project has been on a website and then circulated by bloggers, unfortunately we can't publish it since our readers are those bloggers and they're savvy enough to know what's out there. So we need to make sure that the projects we run haven't been seen before. It's a tough job to keep up with because our readers are so savvy, and the internet has made everybody so much more educated that we have to really do a big search to find things that haven't been seen.
The truth is that there is, I think, a world of places out there. And I think, one thing that I always tell my clients is that you have to really know a magazine. Look at the pages, look and see. Even just because you think that your project would be perfect for blank doesn't necessarily mean that it actually is. I mean, really know a magazine, because, I think that the most frustrating thing for an editor, based on what I've heard feedback, is to get pitched a project that has nothing to do with who they are.
Never underestimate the power of any form of press. I mean, don't get bummed out if it's a local newspaper article in a small city, because you just never know who you're going to be reaching out to. And I own a fabric company as well, and I can tell you that I've had blog features that have gotten my phone ringing off the hook and sales through the roof. And I've also had that same product featured in what I thought was like this hit, a magazine with like a 9 million circulation, and gotten no response at all. So it really, try not to get hung up on, oh, I want it to be in this specific magazine, I really wish I could get this press. Just try to get yourself out there in general.
Years ago, when I worked at Gensler, I'd go into Art Gensler, who founded the company, his office, and on his desk were not all these design magazines, but they were all of his clients' magazines. So somebody from the bar, the bar magazine, and the, most of the financial magazines, and he would actually build relationships with those editors so that his clients would be,
see him. Yeah.
he'd be the only architectural project in a magazine like that, which makes you more exclusive, and your audience is right there. Versus, it's nice to be in all the shelter magazines, but it's the majority of your peers.
Of like-minded
who are
people,
watching.
yeah.
Right.
Maybe you don't see that. Yeah.
Exactly. But I think that if you can find places, if you specialize in a type of practice, find those audiences and get exposure there.
A girl who came to intern with me a couple of years ago sent me her blog, and she was a design school student. And I saw, obviously she isn't spending millions of dollars on other people's houses executing the designs of her dreams, but she said, if I did, this is what I wish I'd done, and this is what I really appreciated. These are the products I like. And here in my backyard, this is how I created what I thought was exciting. And I'm realizing now I'm going to totally contradict myself. But if you don't have all the tools to show, a full kit of balloons, perhaps you can create in the online world the sense of your perspective. You can build an album of what you think you represent stylistically. That may not speak to what you actually can execute, but it shows what your intention is, and that might help define your brand.
Well, it's a totally new medium, whereas before you would just look at a resume.
Right.
That's it. Or a portfolio, but if they don't have one, this gives them an opportunity.
But I think what Celerie is saying is that if you have the opportunity to create a virtual world of what you think it should look like, or what intrigues you, it gets your word, it gets your voice out there.
Yeah.
Tom Delavan, who's like one of my heroes, he's also an interior designer, he said that in today's world, people Google him before hiring him, and they want to see his entire portfolio. They want to see that bloggers think he's hip, and they want to see that he was at a show house or whatever. So that's why he participates in social media, is to get that credibility online, even though previously he would have never had to do that.